Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Nerdy Up North Reviews Star Trek Picard Season 3. We are
It's very specific. It's a very
very specific,
specific, like
very
niche
specific
for
review. Um, it is me, Goodwill, as everyone knows, the unicorn wearing Twitcher, and we are
which
honored to have we are honored to have one of the funniest men in Nerdy Up North. It's Graeme, the legend that is Graeme.
I love how
You
I'm
guys
one
don't
of in
realize.
something where
Yeah.
we have like okay. Wait, hang on. Do I have to take the others out? Hello, yes, it's me. It's me, Sonoys. Now, obviously, that was a lovely little introduction, but I think we need to start this how all good things start with it's been a long road.
Getting from there to here.
It's been a
That's right.
long time. No, okay.
That's
Maybe
right.
that's
We
not the way to go with this, but
we both have faith of the heart. I will apologize, ladies and gentlemen. We have had a nightmare trying to record this episode. It is the first episode. There are teething issues going into this. But yes, we are here to review the first episode of season 3 of Star Trek Picard. So I think it's probably best if you just get right into it, don't you think,
yeah,
Graham?
I think that is it. So yeah.
So I absolutely love this episode. From the very first, from the very first scene right to the end credits. I think this was a major tonal shift for Star Trek Picard after the first two seasons. Did we mention
Hmm.
the first two seasons of Star Trek Picard?
I think what you were saying earlier when we were chatting about the like someone asking whether they need to have seen the previous two seasons to like this, and I'm like, I don't think
Hmm.
so. I think it's like they're
No.
they're going to be like, you know, I
So
like that the writers are
yes.
just in a silo, just being like, "Hey, so how long until we can retcon that whole him being a fucking android thing?" Uh,
it's yeah it's very this opens almost immediately copying the Wrath of Khan,
hmm,
you know, in the 25th century as opposed to the 23rd century in the Wrath
yeah.
of Khan. And we get some stunning space and nebula shots, and then it goes into
Whoa, I love a good nebula.
well, yeah, speaking of war never changes because apparently Fallout 3 is in Star Trek.
Yeah,
Because,
I heard it and I was like, hang on, am I watching the
hang
right thing
on,
here?
I was like, the ink spots? I don't want to set the world on fire.
I I have to say though that it's like in with Picard in Next Generation whatnot, listening to all their classics like Brahms and stuff, to like
Mm.
just being so no good music has happened in about 250 years to
Oh,
the point
no,
where everyone's
no.
just like, okay, let's listen to the Ink Spots, you know.
Yeah, I firmly believe that music died around 2007 and nothing has been decent ever since, as displayed by every single TV show in modern history, not showcasing any music
Yeah.
since 2007. But it opens up with this, you know, these lovely shots of the nebula and the ink spots playing, and it goes into this little tiny pokey ship, and the the imagery we see, we all, you know, we know this is Crusher's ship. You know, we see a lot of Crusher-esque. I mean, if I saw a candle lamp, I was going to switch off there and then, because Crusher and candles,
It's been
we
she's
don't
been
talk
alone for a
about.
while though, like as we suspect. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
yeah.
they're probably she's probably gone up to lava lamps now. So she's probably got like a possessed lava lamp.
But I mean, these first scenes show Crusher as we have probably never seen her before, apart from say Insurrection, just
Yeah.
kicking ass. Because
I was gonna say full on gilf. I was gonna say
yeah,
full on gilf mode, but
but the aliens board the ship. You know, oh, they found us, and she immediately goes
you,
into ass kicking mode.
yeah, like I love that
Um,
the enemies here are like Trek Jawas. So it's just kind of like I was expecting a sort of like copyright safe Houdini or something in there, but like,
mm, it was. yeah, going in, she's found us and she's got this. And I don't get this pump action phaser.
Yeah, I always wonder this though. It's the same with DS9 though, where they just go, "Here's our like phaser rifles," and you're like, "But the handheld one does everything anyway." Like, it's like it can kill
Yeah.
people. It's like why do we need better than killing people?
It can kill people +1,
Yeah, you can hold
probably.
it slightly steadier, I think, but I
Yeah.
think it just looks more badass to be fair. But I've always
The
been
whole
a bit
scene was
mean.
badass.
No, that it was really badass, but it's the idea of like I think with Crusher especially, I think she's one of the characters that never really got to shine. Like, I might be going ahead of myself, but it's the fact of controversial opinion. My hot take of the week is that I preferred Pulaski as a doctor in terms of
Oh.
like what she actually achieved, but I like Beverly as a mother, like a more of a sort of
Mm.
character more. But it just seems a bit of a crap situation when you've got like I think Phlox is better, Bashir is better, the Doctor is better. Like um,
Yeah.
have I got all of them?
Crusher
Oh,
was very underrated, I think,
I don't.
in
I
the
think
next
she was one of those
generation.
characters where the writers didn't know how to use them. Like the same with Troy, and
Yeah.
obviously we've got used to it in later Star Trek, where you just have Enterprise, where you just go, "Oh, they didn't know how to use any of these characters, right? Brilliant."
Yeah.
But like, but it's
Yeah.
kind of good being like, okay, so maybe she wasn't a brilliant doctor, but she's absolutely amazing as a commando. Like she's sort of totally,
Yeah.
absolutely badass here. But then she gets
Yeah.
injured. So the next bit that happens is obviously she fights the enemies off, absolutely disintegrates them or whatever, gets shot in the process, and then sends a distress beacon off, a distress communication off. And I'm like, well, cool. You've been injured, but luckily you're a doctor. You can totally sort this out yourself. Seemingly not, but so
Yeah.
I like the idea that she's
Um,
a doctor, but she's like, "Oh, I've been injured. Oh well, nothing to
lock,
do here then. I didn't have a med kit with me."
locking in a random dude telling her to open the door, who we don't know who that is. We just hear a British accent, open the door. Sending, obviously she gets shot by the enemies after and then she vaporizes point blank. I may add, vaporizes an alien, which is like hell yeah. This is a Crusher that we have never seen.
Yeah,
Um, and then does an encoded transmission, codename Myriad, which is quite a deep cut. Uh, Back to Best of Both Worlds,
you
but
see,
we'll
I,
get to
I
that
love
later.
I love that because I was like, I know what that is, but I can't place it at all.
Yeah,
And then later in the episode, it goes like, "Oh, it's from this," and you're like, "Oh, thank you for
yeah.
my knowledge being flawed."
So obviously we get that, she sent a message to Picard. We don't know what the message entails, but then it goes to black, and then we see. I mean, this alone, I thought, wow, this is a complete, this is a tonal change because there is no opening sequence for this episode of
Which I
Picard.
liked.
It's literally the orchestral that everyone
Yeah.
knows, Star Trek Picard, and then it goes into what I absolutely adore, the undiscovered country Wrath of Khan opening with the blue font and the stars slowly coming towards you. And it just goes,
Hmm.
part one, the next generation, bang. And it moves on to the
Yeah.
next one. And I'm like, wow, okay, all right. So this is already different.
Yeah.
And then we
Because
are
it felt a
taking
bit self-indulgent in season one, where it had the
yes.
whole really slow thing, and you're like, just get on with it. Like I think that's the problem. It's nowadays people don't do intros anymore. It's kind of like it's like
Yes.
old movies, where movies started and they kind of either didn't have an intro and then just did credits, or they had this massive intro. It feels a bit like good that they're like, hey, get down to the episode. We'll have the credits at the end rather than like wasting time.
Yeah. So we move for the credits, and obviously we're at Chateau Picard, and it's the beautiful drawback shot of that wonderful painting of the D,
The
which
D.
I the D
Yeah.
I love that painting, and what I love about this this opening, this scene is Picard is talking to Eris.
Hmm. Who is
um
our Scottish Romulan? I'm still
well,
baffled. Like
yeah,
she's a Scottish Romulan, and she's literally. I don't think she's real
I
because
think
no
she's
other character
Irish.
has interacted with her
I
except like
think
Picard, and she
yeah
appears at the beginning of every season and then at the end and doesn't interact with anything. You're like going, hang on,
yeah.
I think Picard's just
Yeah,
dreaming it. Just being like,
it's but they're talking and they're going on about first loves and oh, first love's always the sweetest, and he goes, it's not the first, but it's my favorite, referencing the Enterprise. And
yeah,
yeah, I'm always sad about her because she needs more screen time, and I
yeah,
do hope as the season progresses we see more of that, because obviously they're moving. Captain Picard is leaving
mm,
Chateau Picard. He's moving to a new planet, and they're packing up and they're on about spring cleaning. And then later on, he's writing out his cards, and he hears the combat. He hears a combat noise,
yeah,
and he searches through and he finds the old TNG Enterprise D com badge, and he's like, "Who the hell is
yeah,
sending a message?" Um, and obviously the computer says, it's a unique codec, and he goes myriad, and then he
yeah,
sees a message, and it's a very distressed Beverly saying, "Trust no one, not even Starfleet, Hellbird, blah blah
yeah.
blah blah." Blah. And he's like,
He's like, oh, what's this?
yeah, yeah, and it's like, what's going on? And then obviously we go to Raffi,
Well,
who is
hold on.
on.
Before we go to Raffi,
Oh,
it's the fact that we have this com badge thing, and I'm just like, I'm not saying anything. I'm going back on my Beverly possibly isn't the most competent person thing, where
yeah,
she sends the message to a com badge that he might just have like not anywhere. Like it's just this, why say
yeah,
like there's surely got to be better. And I know that they wrote it in as a reference. So like, oh look, it's an old style com badge that you're not going to see in the rest of the season. But at the same
yeah.
time, you're just like, what if he didn't hear that? Like, what if it? And she's just like, let's put my hopes into this. It's like, what if
It,
they'd
it was
already
a
moved
very
that? It's like, okay, Bev,
it was a
possibly not the best idea.
it was a very puzzling. I mean, like you said, I
When
agree.
you're
I think
bleeding out,
it was a callback.
especially.
Yeah, it was a callback. I think it was purely done for nostalgic purposes.
Yeah.
To send to, because like even Picard says, who is sending a message to an Enterprise D com badge, and you're like, yeah,
I think it
yeah,
kind of reinforces, though, that like, because I don't know how much they retconned with Beverly, because obviously we know that Beverly and Picard do engage with each other as they're older. But then obviously have they retconned that now and said like after the Enterprise D they just immediately part ways, and that's her only way to communicate with him, and that all of the other stuff that we've seen in movies and stuff where they're a bit older and they're a bit like
yeah.
because how when was
I
first
think
contact in relation to the end of Next
ah
Gen?
well,
Like,
they say, because the next scene is obviously Picard meeting Riker in 10
yeah,
Forward. Um, Shout out to the Eagle Moss collection that is in there of the Enterprise D, which I have downstairs. And I was like,
yeah.
my
You
God,
mean the
now that
fat
Eagle Moss,
boy? You mean the fat one?
the fat boy, it's a Galaxy class lady. No one wants that. I'm like, yeah, I do. The company that made them's gone bust.
Yeah,
Sell
that's
them
it.
now.
eBay. They must have
Um,
eBay in the future.
eBay, yeah. But yeah, so uh, the next scene is obviously Picard meeting Riker, and they do say in this scene where he's explaining what's going on with Beverly that they haven't spoken 20 years. Now this is 20 years since Nemesis,
Right. Okay.
so it's around about after the events of Nemesis. Beverly's just gone her own way,
Yeah.
because in Nemesis she was going to head up Starfleet Medical again. That was the sort of out. That's why she was leaving the Enterprise.
Well, I suppose when there's no
Something
risk
must
of
have
like
happened.
Pulaski coming along and being like, right, I've told everyone they're bastards, you know, and
Yeah,
she's like, okay,
yeah.
I better get back there.
I mean, as a
Data's gonna
side,
tear her head off.
everyone did say, well, everyone coming back, can we get Pulaski? And I'm like, bless the actress. She's in her 80s now.
I'd love her to be there as a cameo, but it does feel a bit
Yeah.
like she's probably like, you could have asked me 10 years ago. She's probably like,
Yeah. So, Picard and Riker are talking about crushing, how no one's spoken to her. She cuts everyone off, and they're like, why? Why
Hmm.
did she do this? No one knows why. And he
Hold
goes,
on.
well, she sent me. Oh, he's gone away. What's he doing? Is he gonna get anything? Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Paul, just edit this down.
Sorry, random. Totally, literally just heard this massive bang, and it's like 4 Amazon parcels going through the letterbox, and I'm like, what at this time of night? They never sleep at Amazon. Anyway.
So they're discussing Crusher and how no one's spoken to her in 20 years. She cuts everyone off, and Picard goes, well, the coordinates she's given me is, it's in the middle of nowhere. And then obviously this is where Myriad comes into play and Hellbird comes into play, and they say, well, when you were Locutus, we had a computer virus, and Myriad altered, added an extra 3 to all the coordinates. So blah, 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 blah. And, it's the Riton system. And they're like, well, they can't get there. They need a ship. And he's like, follow me. So then we see Raffi, who is on egotistically named Metalis Prime. I wonder who named that. Good old Terry Metalis. He had to get that shoehorn in, didn't he? He had to get Metalis
now
Prime.
I'm
in.
part of Trek.
Yeah, he is now part of Trek lore.
I do find it though, like this is my critic. I'm the devil's advocate here, but it's the fact of like they always have this problem of we need to find a ship, and I'm like, surely Picard can buy a ship, or if they're moving, why doesn't he just try and complete the move? And then he's like, okay, guys, I know we're going here, but how about we just take a little, how difficult is it to get a ship in like the future? Like, it's not like, the Fifth Element or something where it's like, oh yeah, everyone's got a ship. Everyone can go everywhere, kind of like. It does just seem like, and it's very much them just going, neither of us, retired, very famous people, have ships. Okay,
It's very hard for a retired admiral and a captain who no chair, as we'll find out later on.
Yeah, that's it.
But then obviously we go to Metalis Prime and we see Raffi, and we think, oh no, Raffi, who was, a known substance user from season 1 and, was reformed, and she looks strung out and hitting on these dealers who were giving her a fix and stuff. And, she's like, come on, God, I need a tip. I need to get back into Starfleet and I can, and, she's going on. And
she's got addicted to information now. She's like, come on, just give me a bit more.
Well,
we're going to have Wikipedia in the future.
The actor who played the Orion, he looked familiar, and I can't quite place him, but I think he's been a character actor in a fair few sci-fi shows. But he's I don't know who, but he looked familiar. But
I'd love it if they brought back that trope. That Star Trek trope of just being like, oh, look, it's this person who's been in everything. Like, he's been in Babylon 5, he's been in, like, Voyager, he's been in, like...
Just bring all the character actors back.
Yeah.
He was very familiar. But anyway, she's begging for information because, she's trying to get herself clean and she wants to get back into Starfleet. And the big tip will get her back in, with the senior, the senior leaders of the fleet and he goes, the Red Lady. Now, when I heard the Red Lady, I thought, oh my God, are they going to link this to Discovery with the Red Angel? Because that linked me with season 2, and I was like, oh no, are they going to do the Red Angel?
It's a different timeline, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was kind of apprehensive about that, but we see Raffi slinks off and she almost changes when she walks away, and it's just like, oh, she's Starfleet intelligence.
Well, that's it. That's what I thought. I thought that it was basically like, oh, Raffi, it's all just a guise and she's pretending to do this thing. But then later on, it kind of goes, oh, no, you are actually dismissed from Starfleet and stuff. And I was a bit like, oh, that seems a bit of a shame. Like, I don't like the big leap. I was a bit worried about the big leap where it just goes, hey, you and Seven were kind of getting on in season 2, and then you had all this stuff ahead of you, and then we've kind of just jumped ahead and we're like, oh, right, this character that we really needed more time with is now, we've skipped the good bit. We've skipped the... and it does feel a bit like you're just going, can we just have some time with Raffi, please? Rather than like she gets introduced, then she's in the background for all the things.
This obviously this her story, the B story will link in with the A story all the time, but it did feel disconnected in this, which I can sort of understand if they're trying to like,
it's good that she's doing this in, because I really felt that they were just gonna kind of ditch all the previous characters, because it is a bit of a shame that like this is what we wanted. Like from what we're seeing in this episode, this is what I wanted from Picard, where we're getting to see
From the
Beverly, we're
start.
getting to see like
Yeah.
Riker and stuff. And I'm just
Yeah.
like going, yeah, I'm really enjoying this. And then Raffi being there is a bit like going, oh yeah, Raffi's still a thing, you know?
Yeah. So she gets a hot tip about something called the Red
The Red
Lady, and
Lady.
she contacts Starfleet Intelligence, and then we go back to Riker and Picard on a shuttle, and you get that gorgeous new space stock. And Picard is sat there going, he's like, I'm not sure about this, Will, and Will's like, this is the only way we're going to get a ship.
Yeah.
And then the pan over to the lovely newish Titan A, which is a refit of Riker's old ship from after he left the Enterprise in Nemesis, and obviously in lower decks. And they get on board, and so we see Seven of Nine as the commander.
The first officer, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have a ruse to sort of commandeer the Titan for a routine inspection that makes them go the opposite way they should go to get to Beverly. This is the only way they are going to get to Beverly. We'll get on this, we'll play nice, and then they say, oh, let's change the pace and let's go left instead of right, and see how it goes. And they're like,
how long was their trip to the Titan though? Like, and they just they're approaching it, and then they're like, yeah, we should work out a plan, shouldn't we? We should work out a really good reason to convince them. And then they're just like, nah, let's not do this. I just, what were they doing the rest of the journey? Were they just like, I bet they were just checking their phones. I bet they were just sitting there checking their phones, being like, oh yeah.
I think they were sobering up because they did go through a lot of brandy. Yeah, they did go a lot for a brandy. So they get on the ship. We see Commander Annika Hansen.
Yes.
Because Captain Shaw of the Titan prefers to use her human name, which you can see immediately that Seven is not happy about.
Yeah.
The facial expression. So, and Riker and Picard, play up to the pomp and circumstance, intimidate a few officers walking down.
I love the bit where Picard just checks
that
guy's thing out, and he's like, I am here in no official capacity whatsoever.
But I will straighten your comm badge.
Yeah, that's it. I love it.
But so all the pomp and circumstance, and then we get to the bridge and we see Geordie LaForge's daughter, Sydney LaForge, with this big beaming smile. She's like, oh my God, my two uncles are on my ship. And it's like, and then Riker just proceeds to humiliate her in front of all of her friends. And he's like, Crash LaForge. Sir, where you crashed a shuttle? Yes, I crashed a shuttle twice. Yes, I was a kid. And you can see her face going, kill me now. Yeah. I love that. See, I absolutely love that.
I absolutely adore Riker in this, because obviously my criticism of Picard as a show so far is that Picard isn't Picard. Like, it's the way he acts. Like later on in this episode, like in this scene, we get it where like he tells like Annika to shut up or something, and I'm just like, I don't think he would ever act like that, and it's and it's that weird thing where Riker is Riker, and it's just this idea of just like there's, I don't know, like, and it makes me realize the disconnect that I have with Patrick Stewart playing Picard, because of how much Riker is just like, whoa, okay, his lines are the way he'd say them, like what we're used to in Next Gen and stuff.
Yes.
And this was just absolutely amazing, like him just sort of trolling her, basically.
Yeah, it was.
Throughout the whole episode, he's like that.
I enjoyed that. And then obviously we do have a lot of shit porn for about 3 minutes of the Titan leaving.
But I thought it was an advert for the mobile game, to be fair, when the Titan leaves and it's really slow. I was expecting it to come up being like, join now and you get 200 credits or something. 200 pieces of gold crest latinum.
So the next scene is what is the next scene? I've only just it's
I can't remember. All I remember is that when we're on the ship and on the bridge and we're trolling the ensign and stuff like that, I just thought that the cost of living crisis had hit them, because like everything's like, compared to the Next Gen, everything's really dark and they've just got these LED strips on, and it's like someone's just gone, oh, it's getting expensive. Should we switch to the IKEA bulbs?
There's a reason. There is a reason. There is a reason, because
can things not be too bright in the future? The same as the same as you can't go past warp 5 or you'll rip space.
Oh, we don't mention that. That's
warp 9.9 now, so fuck that rule.
There's a reason for that, because Terry Matalis is a huge Wrath of Khan Undiscovered Country fan, which is Nick Meyer. So Terry Matalis is very Star Trek should be more naval, should be more nautical. So the low lighting complements obviously flying in space, and there's a lot of sound effects throughout the episode that are straight from the Wrath of Khan, straight from the Undiscovered Country, like the chimes at midnight from General Chang.
It's good that he's bringing those like references to it, and he's kind of going like, "This is my Star Trek" kind of thing. And it's just good that he has a Star Trek compared to some of the people who have been handed it, and you're just a bit like, "Oh, good."
Yeah, but I think so. I mean, obviously, we go back to we go back to Raffi, who's trying to find out who the Red Lady is, and what's going on. So Raffi is essentially Google image searching for Red Lady, and then
she's chatting to a contact first. She's having a conversation with I don't know, like,
oh, it's Worf. Come on, we all know it's Worf.
I don't know it's Worf. I don't know.
We know
I didn't know who it was, to be fair, but it's just like
they go through the text to speech, don't they, with the computer? But it's like, I know who you are, and a weapon has been stolen. This is a declaration of war. You are a warrior, and then it pans, it zooms straight in, and he like, that's Worf.
I didn't think that it was Wolf, but it would make sense. It would tie him into it, kind of thing. But it's like,
and it's like, you are a warrior. We need to find this. We need to stop it before it happens. And then she starts Google image searching.
Although more information would be a help. I always get annoyed by this, where someone's just like, "Oh, we desperately need you to do this," but no, we won't help you. And it's like, okay,
there's a terrorist attack in the Federation. 8,000 square light years of Federation.
Yeah,
Red Lady, off you go. How many Red Ladies in 8,000 square light years are there going to be?
I also love like how I feel like Raffi's got a different life when the camera's not on her. So she's doing this, she's having a conversation, she starts the Google search, and then like we go back to her later, and then she's just getting round to going, "Oh yeah, could it be a ship? Oh, could it be that?" And like, what were you doing in the middle? What searches were you doing? Like when you haven't done that yet,
But for me, that for me, when it says warrior, that's Worf, because Worf's got a limited vocabulary.
Let's see if you're right. Now that you mentioned it, I think he probably could be. But
but then we go back to the Titan, and we see a lovely blue steak again, going back to the Undiscovered Country with the blue squid.
It was so weird though. I was just like, what? I love that it's like it's the future and they've made a steak blue. Well done, special effects department.
And I love that. And this is our first introduction to Captain Lee and Shaw, Todd Stashwick. And for me, this was my favorite scene of the episode, because let's be honest, he was a dick. In this entire.
My notes, I've just written down Shaw. Dick. That's it. Everything else is really elaborate. Then I'm just like, no, that's it. That's all you need.
So he's already eating dinner, and 7 and 9 brings in Picard and Riker, and Picard goes, are we late? And he's like, no, your reputation precedes you so much, I just thought I'd start early. And I'm like, oh damn, it's going to be that kind of dinner party, is it? And he starts sitting down and going through all the pomp and circumstance, and then they finally get to the nitty-gritty where they're like, well, this is for Frontier Day, celebrating 250 years of Starfleet and the Federation. Frontier Day, we're here for a routine inspection, great test. And then they sort of drip the hints that they want to change course, and you can see Shaw knows something's not quite right, because his expression is like, and he's still eating, but he's doing that. If anyone's got a manager and you're asking for something and it's not really the truth, the manager knows, look.
Wait, it's also the fact of, as he brings up later, why? Like, Starfleet haven't sent them. He knows that one of them's retired. He knows that, like, Picard, is also retired, but, has actually even stepped away from an ambassadorial role. So it's this idea of just being like, if only they'd planned. If only they planned ahead or something, or like sent a false message saying, "Oh yeah, Picard is also now back in Starfleet, so trust him." I don't know. They do literally just pop up on a ship and be like, "Hello."
Yeah, and his suspicions are already there when he can't even be asked to meet them off the shuttlecraft. And he's eating and the way that Todd Stashwick acts in this is brilliant because they asked to change course, and he's like, "Oh, we can do this, we can do this," and he's like, "No," and he just does it as he's eating, and it's like so like, "No,"
Yeah.
and but the way it comes across, because he's like, "I'm going to be a dick, but I'm going to give you every reason for me to understand why I'm being a dick, so you agree with me whilst thinking I'm a dick." And it's like, my orders come from people well above your pay grade. And he's like, I'm an admiral, retired, regrets. And he's like, well, I'm a captain without a seat. Titan's mine now. And I thought, oh, you saucy little bitch.
You
And he
saucy
goes,
minx.
you saucy minx. And he just basically, he shoots them down. He shoots them out and he goes, nope, 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 we're going to do it my way. We're going to stand the course. If you don't like it, I'm off to bed. Bye. And he goes, and the way that it ends, I just thought, wow, okay, so they thought they could come in, swan around, do what they want, and he's just gone, no. And obviously 7 and 9 knows what's wrong. But then we go back to Raffi again, who finally isolates that the Red Lady is a launching event for a statue of Rachel Garrett, the captain of the Enterprise C. And I go, is this foreshadowing something?
Sorry. Well, we already got the reference earlier on to like sort of what's the episode called where they use the myriad code? Because that's the same one, the best of both worlds. Isn't that also the episode
it's
referring? Oh,
Rachel
right,
Garrick
okay.
is yesterday's Enterprise, where the Enterprise C,
Sorry,
when the
yes.
timeline changes. Yeah. So I thought, are they going to do something? Because there's always been talk of Sealer coming back.
Yeah, very
There
much.
has been talk. And I thought, this is going to put fuel to the fire because the Enterprise C went back with Tasha Yar, who gave birth to Sealer. So I thought, is this foreshadowing? But Raffi finds out that it's, the Red Lady, it's the inauguration of this statue in District 7. So she flies to District 7. And then we go back quickly to the Titan where Picard and Riker are on bunk beds. And it's like, this is like a famous admiral and a well acclaimed captain of Starfleet. And it's like, yeah, here's 2 bunk beds. Can you just kindly fuck off and leave me alone?
It's the sheer cheek of it. And I think and to be fair, I quite like him as a villain, but also at the same time, I'm a bit like, he's unnecessarily a bastard, like
yeah. It's like, because he said during that meeting, he's like, I love you both, and I've read all your adventures and your irresponsible actions and stuff. So he respects them, but he doesn't like the way they did it because he looks very by the book.
Yeah.
And he's like, I run a type ship, I follow orders and blah, 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 blah. But to dump them on bunk beds, again, going back to the undiscovered country with McCoy and Kirk on those bunk beds, and he's like, one day, one night, Kobayashi Maru, like that. And they go on about how Crusher, what happened in those 20 years? Why is she only coming to us now? What's happened? Why is she doing what she's doing? And then they get called to the observation lounge for 7, and she's just basically, right, guys, cut the shit. Why are you here? And I really like that because she knew, and she was like, no, I'm gonna pull you up, and I want to know what's going on. So they tell her that Beverly Crusher is in danger, and they've been told no Starfleet and stuff. And she's like, right, okay, and you can tell she's unhappy. She's taking shit from Sean. She doesn't think Starfleet's right for her. And Picard gives her a speech of, I believe you're on the right path. I believe that you can inspire people and stuff. And then they walk out to the bridge, and she's like, well, I've brought you here, so fuck the consequences.
I think she's just sick of it all, She's just like, well, I'm going to leave anyway, so might as well go out on a high note.
Yeah, I'm going to take the pencils with me. That's sort of what I... That's what I saw. So obviously they get to the writing system, and she's like, we found a ship just beyond our range. We can't scan it, and she's like, you've got 4 minutes before the guard of the shuttle bay leaves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then we go into Shaw's cabin, and obviously he's in the middle of a nebula, and he's like, what? He's fuming.
To be
absolutely
fair,
nuts.
though, his cabin doesn't seem better than bunk beds, to be fair.
I know.
It's for a
Yeah.
captain. He seems like a bit of a punk. I mean, at least Picard had room for a bloody saddle in his quarters, no
It's
wonder
these
Shaw's
new
angry.
ships.
They've given it,
They've
maybe they
given him a
just gave
small
him.
ship of bunk beds. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like,
Yeah.
it's like, how the Enterprise D was like, oh, it's got room for families and kids and stuff. This one, they're like, it doesn't even have room for crew, basically.
No. But so obviously, she's like, you've got 4 minutes, and he's storming off to the bridge, and they fly off in the shuttlecraft. And then we go, that lovely little speech between them both again, where it's just like Riker looks at Picard and he's like, just like the old days. And Picard just goes, are you enjoying this? And Riker's like, of course not. With that cheeky little smile.
Yeah.
And he just like, yeah, I absolutely love that. So the find Crusher's ship. And we go back to Raffi, who now knows
Yeah.
the red lady. It's an inauguration event for a statue.
Could have known quicker if someone had helped, maybe.
If someone had helped, yeah. If he's on the same planet in the next district, you
if
could
she'd
have said,
asked more
on
than
the
one
good
guy
foot.
on the planet, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So she hops it there. She's trying to warn him, and then we see one of possibly the coolest effects I've seen in modern Star Trek. Portal, the video game in Star Trek, where they just move an entire building.
I laughed out loud at this, despite how horrendous it is. I was just like, it just appears then falls down. I'm just like, now you're thinking with portals. Just as like Starfleet just collapses.
I couldn't, because you see the circle and you think, oh, the buildings just collapse. Like they've got this weapon that just like seismically affects it, and it collapses, and you're like, oh my god, this is awful. And then you just see a portal in the sky, and it just dumps it on and it's like, you've screwed one part of the city, but no, I'm going to legitimately take a massive dump on this other part of the city. And then you, in the very like tiniest little speck, you just see the little red lady go flying out of the portal and then crashing into the floor. And I'm like,
no, poor red lady.
And I'm like, and Raffi, and you can see this is like, Raffi is snapped, and she's like, I've tried to help, and I think this is going to affect her, like the death of Elnor. The death of Elnor. I think this is going to affect her like Elnor did in season 2.
I think it's going to affect a lot of people, because there's a lot of people in Starfleet headquarters. But I think does this mean the Admiral, who's just like sheer fucking hubris?
No, that was that the building that got destroyed was a recruiting station.
I thought it was actual Starfleet headquarters.
No. So
okay, that's all right then. Okay, but hopefully she was in it.
Fucking hubris.
Hopefully she was in it visiting or something. Or like,
yeah, she was a frosty knickers, wasn't she? That one. But
all we've seen. I love how all we've seen of Starfleet in this time is bastards, where you've got like you've got the person who ends up to be a traitor in season 1, and then you've got Shaw being an absolute dick, and I'm just like, has Starfleet lost its way? And they've just like, they've forgotten how to be kind. Have
they lost human resources? As HR just like,
I think HR just held downsized HR, and they're just like, now everyone's angry at a bastard.
But obviously, this is like setting up. This is the weapon. This is the threat. And then it's like, and then it goes back to Picard and Riker boarding Crusher's ship, going through the hunt, and then they find Crusher in a little cryogenic thing. What Picard does. Riker's looking at the ashes of the dude that she just point blank killed at the beginning of the episode. And then a dude, he's got him, got a gun training him. And then the big reveal happens on the bridge of this show, on the bridge of the Helios.
The jump the shark moment that kind of isn't a jump the shark moment. Because it's like, no, that's kind of normal. Like, I don't think there's anything massive revealy about it,
and it's like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm a son. And you're like, you don't look like Wesley. And it's like
Wesley's off having crazy space sex with the Traveler. I think still
he's been a Time Lord. Yes, he's
been a Time
Lord. So Crusher has another son.
Yeah.
Now
Are we going to have a fist fight between him and Wesley at some point in the season, do we reckon?
Is Wesley coming in this season?
Well, he appears in last season, so either that was a random cameo, or he's going like, oh well, actually, foreshadowing that he might be involved. I think it'd be nuts to do a season based upon next gen and not bring everyone that you possibly could into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should dig up Marjol Barat and have her cameo
as the computer voice, as a dead computer voice.
It might be difficult now. However, fan service.
I put it to you though, sir. Marjol Barat, Roddenberry, Gene Roddenberry's late wife, did, before she passed, record every word so that the computer could be used long after she passed away, and they never used it.
And it's a real shame, and I'm really annoyed by that, especially with the technology that we have now. Like, even the words that she didn't do, they could make them, like, out of the actual recordings they have. I just think, to be fair, they probably saved them in, like, 4 kilobyte per second MP3 files, and they're like, oh, piss. Should have thought ahead here,
Potentially, yeah. But so it's the last scene. Obviously, they realize that it's Crusher's son. We don't know who he is. We don't know his name.
Yeah.
But we know it's Crusher's son, and then obviously another ship appears, and it's like this big. I mean, very reminiscent of Star Trek 09, how it comes out with that nebula, and you're like, is that Nero? You look for it for a split second, you're like, is that Nero? But no, but it's this big ass X-wing type scimitar from Nemesis type ship, and then that's it. But that is it, and then it goes to the wonderful, and I am absolutely in love with every decision that they have made for the end credits.
Yeah,
the first contact. If you're going to do a theme, Star Trek First Contact is the best one that you can do because it was a beautiful score by Jerry Goldsmith, laid down to very detail-orientated visuals that sort of foreshadow what's coming. You see a Starfleet museum. You see.
We've had this in every season. We've had this in both seasons so far, where basically, in the first season it was the intro where it kind of went, "Hey, here's things that are going to be relevant later on." Yes. And then in the second one, you had where it changed throughout the series that it went, "Hey, here's references." And I think it's great that the show has its own things, like. Because a lot of the stuff that happened in season one, the fans, me especially, are like, let's just forget that happened. Let's just And then in two, it got better. And then it's like, I like that there's something about Picard that it's brought to the table that I'm kind of going, I like that. I like the idea of just saying, hey, foreshadowing. Like, and the fact that it's the style of the computers, like I complain, like I'm complaining about the lighting, I'm complaining about this, but it's the fact of I want Picard that is Trek, like where I want more references to original Trek. And in the first season, they basically just went, everything's different. Computers work differently. We don't have any of the same technology. Everyone acts totally differently. Picard doesn't act like Picard. And you're like, how is this the show? So by having stuff here where some of the computers are that, and some of the, they're that old style, it brings me in as a fan, and it makes me engage more with the newer stuff by there being older stuff there also, if that makes sense.
For me, overall, this episode, this is because I know people who have worked. They were taken on in season 2 because season 2 and 3 were done back to back. So the Stargazer from season 2, that was the Titan. So they just dressed it up as a Stargazer bridge, and then obviously for this one it's the Titan. But my friend Doug Drexler, who worked on all Star Trek from the Next Generation all the way up to Enterprise, Michael and Denise Okuda, who created the Okudagrams, the LCARS computer system, they were all brought back. And like we said at the beginning, Terry Matalis is seasoned in Star Trek. He was on Voyager. He was on Enterprise. He is. If you're going to find a hardcore Star Trek fan, and this goes back to Star Wars, what makes the Star Wars series work is because they are done by hardcore Star Wars fans. What makes, for me, this work and to a similar extent, Strange New Worlds work is because they are made by hardcore Star Trek fans who not only know the source material, but know the very finest detail and references and sound effects. So they know, I want it this way. I want the computers to be this way. And Dave, because it was the production designer David Blass who said to Terry, he was like, right, if we're going to do it, we'll bring back literally the old crew live in front of the camera crew and the crew from the production. So they were like, right, we want it to feel like Star Trek. How do we make it feel like Star Trek? Get the people who made it feel like Star Trek in the 90s back. And you can tell the love, the passion in every tiny little facet is there. That, like I said at the beginning, in the 25th century, that font is from the Wrath of Khan. That line is from the Wrath of Khan. The music is from Star Trek 2 onwards, because this series is very much, we're old, we are over the hill, but we've got one last adventure, and that's very much the undiscovered country. The music, the sentiment is the undiscovered country. But it's the next generation's version of it. The design, the LCARs, it was very like, if you're going to do Star Trek, you need LCARs, not like what was in season 1, not and this, it has to feel like Star Trek. And a lot of people who have seen most of the season and who've worked in it, they were like, this is Star Trek and we want it to be like this. And the overall
you've got to
design,
love something to properly bring it in. And it's the idea of, like, you've got to be like, hey, who are we making this for? Because it's the idea of, what's the point of making Picard for a new generation if because they would make sense if you were like, hey, let's make Picard for a new generation so that they can go back and discover next gen. But then if you're not going to make like Picard like next gen, then they're going to get to that and be like, oh, that's not like the thing I like.
It's completely
so it's
different.
A weird, who was the goal? Who was the audience that they were aiming for in like season 1 and whatnot? And you're right, they're bringing things back and just realizing that the vibe, needs to be there. And I think this does it. Like, it's the fact of like, it was a bit weird because it felt a bit weird with the Raffi scenes. And obviously I've been a bit harsh about Raffi, but
it feels a bit disjointed.
In a kind of way where it's like, but I'm annoyed that it's just this idea of, I dislike a lot of the characters that we've had through Picard because they haven't been given the right time due to bad writing and stuff. So Raffi never really got much of an arc. And like I said earlier, we seem to just jump ahead and be like, oh, she's here now. And you're like, could we see the middle bit there of like how she did that? And that would make me engage more with her as a character. And it feels weird that the character that we kind of got the most plot with, like which was after Agnes,
Jurati.
They're not here.
The new Borg queen.
And it's that weird thing, and it's like, oh, it's so strange, but she's had time now, so I kind of feel like I can engage with them. Whereas Raffi, I'm like, I've watched all the seasons. I watched season 2 twice, and she had a fling with Seven that happened, and that's her. And then she was annoyed with Elna dying, and and I feel a bit like weird about that. But also, I just want to say, as a member of the LGBT plus community, I'm still annoyed that the sort of random throwaway, there's lesbians, bit at the end of the first season, where it's just going, right, okay, so it's a off-camera moment then,
Yeah,
so it's good that they actually made a thing out of it in 2, rather than just being like, oh, they're lesbians, oh, they've broken up.
Yeah,
Amy's just like, oh, thanks for that.
I feel that
I'm saying lesbians. I mean bisexual. They are same sex attracted to one another.
I hope, with all hope, that obviously, I mean, it's going to be inevitable that Raffi gets aboard the Titan, or in some way is with the crew. They're all going to have to come together, and I feel that we need more Seven and Raffi. We need to see this. What's going on? Why are they constantly breaking up? What is it?
I would be annoyed if they didn't. I'd be very annoyed because I'm glad that we're getting this subplot with Raffi so that we can see more about it. Like already, I know she can use Google, so that is already a massive leap in character,
Yeah, yeah.
But I would be annoyed if they just went, oh yeah, they broke off screen, and yeah, that's not going to get resolved. So you're right, they have to, meet up and whatnot. And as
Yeah.
long as there's some kind of on-screen resolution with that, I mean, hopefully they'll do flashbacks. Like, hopefully, Raffi in the next couple of episodes, Raffi will have flashbacks, and it'll basically go, "Hey, she was getting really drunk, and here's an argument she had with Seven, and here's." That's probably the way I'd do it, and then we kind of get that retroactively.
I feel, although there are some dark elements in this episode, I feel the tonal shift that everyone was going on about is justified, but it's for the better. I feel this is, and I mean, I've been burnt by the first episodes of the last two seasons where I've said, "Yep, this is what," and then they've done. But as I said to you before we started this, for season 2, the first episode was brilliant. The subsequent 2 and 3
the
were
first
okay.
3 were really good. I really enjoyed it. And then it was like, and now it's turned into something else. It's like someone else came in saying, "Hey, I want to do this," and they're like, "We're making Star Trek," and no, okay, we're gonna go back in the past and do this."
But it's Terry Matalis, because you can, it's like, Terry Matalis, which episodes did he do with season 2? Oh, well, he did 1, 2, 3 in the last episode. The good ones.
And it's like, okay.
And now someone's gave him the keys to the car and said, "Don't crash it." And to be honest, he hasn't yet. So the first episode, Curse of Picard, might not happen. And a lot of people who again, I trust in the Trek community, on all over the thing, they have said this is something that it's a major step up from the first 2 seasons. And it is going to be the Trek you know and love with new elements in it. Now, for me, the last year, I think Star Trek as an entity, Star Trek's quality, production, writing, apart from Discovery, has
there been any Discovery in the last year?
There was season 4 last year, but no one cares.
So that's the impact it made on me.
That's the impact, yeah. So, but overall, apart from Discovery, the writing and the quality has been exceptional, because they've sort of had probably an introspective review, like they've reflected on themselves, and they've brought in these better writers, and all of a sudden you've got Strange New Worlds, which was one of the best new shows that came out last year, and it was what people wanted from Star Trek. They were like, "Oh, if you're going to go do the original series, let's do the original series episode of the week, villain of the week." Bang, straight out the park. Lower Decks.
Yeah. It's exactly what I mean. It's the fact of just going, why are you doing so? It's like, when you get an adaptation of something, like a video game adaptation, and they just go, "Oh yeah, we're going to have a character called this in," but they're not going to act anything like their actual character. And you're like, or, "Oh, we're going to take the plot of the game and then we're just going to totally change it." And you're like, why are you making this game then? Why not just make a whole new property? Like, and I don't understand it. I don't understand the Hollywood logic of going like, "Oh yeah, we're going to use an existing IP and then we'll put it out so the market will be the existing fans, but then we'll do stuff that'll piss the existing fans off." And you're like, right, okay, that's an interesting approach. And it just feels a bit weird, like, like Discovery, like I don't enjoy it at all. But I think it would be, there's so many people that absolutely love it. There's so many people that it is their favorite thing in the whole world, and it means a lot to them. I just kind of go, did this need to be Star Trek? Like, I can't think. So, it's like, does it need the references to Spock and stuff? Could that be a separate thing? Like, it could be a totally separate IP and be great in its own merits. I think a lot of the ire it gets is because people are watching it, expecting it to be Star Trek, and then being like, it doesn't have any of the tropes of Star Trek. It doesn't have any of the things that we're used to. It doesn't have the vibe. It doesn't have the, like you're saying, the Monster of the Week thing. It was, for like 2 seasons, it was like, it's the Michael Burnham show, what they're up to today. And it was like, and it's like, that's odd because Star Trek has never been that. Like even in Next Gen, it kind of goes, "Hey, here's an episode. Picard's in it for like 5 seconds, and then it goes off and does something else. It follows Troy for a bit." Like, and
Yeah,
DS9 especially, where like the Ferengi episodes where it even has a cameo where they go through the wrong access tube and end up in Cisco's office, and he's just like,
yeah,
"What are you doing here?" And that's it. That's it for the whole episode.
yeah,
You're like going, "You can do that. Like you can do that with a strong
yeah.
ensemble cast, rather than going, hey, it's all about this person."
It feels
And so it was nice getting a cutaway to Raffi in this one and going, "Cool, it's not just Patrick Stewart."
yes, yes, and this is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love all Star Trek. I will never not watch any Star Trek, but I will also accept that there are weak parts of the franchise. Discovery being one, and I will defend this. The only thing it's not the characters, it's not the actors, it's the writing,
Yeah.
and the writing is done, and you can tell it's done by someone who doesn't get what Star Trek symbolizes and wants to do their own thing. And people say, I don't like Discovery, not because of the Sonequa Martin Green, not because of the actors or anything like that.
Yeah, she's
It's the
great.
way, she's a brilliant
Yeah.
actress.
Loads of them. It's like, yeah.
It's the way it's written. And the first season for me was solid. Half of the second season was solid because it introduced Christopher Pike. And for me, if they said, right, this is going to be 2 and done. So we do 2, the end, they go into the future, we move on with Christopher Pike because this will be the backdoor pilot for Strange New Worlds, right? I would have been fine with that. We know why they went to the future because they were sick to death of doing the continuity and this, that. And it's like, right, if you were that sick of it, why is Strange New Worlds being greenlit? And why is it one of the best reviewed shows of 2022? It's not the continuity that you're struggling with, it's the writing.
Wait, it's the why take on a universe if you can't write within that universe? It's like, cool, do something else. Like, do your own property. If you're like, oh, we're so tethered by oh, well, we need to do this, we need to do this, we would need to explain where this goes.
Yep.
So it seems a bit weird that they're like created a whole new timeline using the ones from the movies so that they're not tied down in that regard. And then they changed loads of the motivations and loads of like the relations and stuff. So they're not tied down in that regard, and then still ended up tying themselves down with stuff and being like, oh, bollocks, time travel.
So, yeah, I mean, it's so, but I mean, like I said,
we should do this. This has just turned into us complaining about Discovery.
Oh, I know.
But I get exactly what you mean, though, where Star Trek is looking up. Like we've had so many good things, like Lower Decks. Like, I think, was it you that told me to watch it? Because, like, I hadn't
Lower Decks. Yeah.
I hadn't watched it because I was like, oh, one day I'll get around to it. And I watched it and I was like, it's not laugh out loud funny for me, but I love the references and it's wonderful. It's like almost nostalgic and like you've got a friend in the room, knowing that the people that wrote this and the people that did this are also fans, and there's little nods and there's little kind of it's like it feels like you're kind of, oh, cool, amongst friends here.
It's that passion that Mike McCann has, and again, like Terry Matalas in Picard, it's the tiny little details that go, this is the world that we love. It's Star Trek. It's got that feel. It's got the font. All you have to do is use a font and people immediately feel, it's familiar. All you have to do is use the little LCARS beeps, the little phaser noises, and people go, this is Star Trek. Tiny little things by passionate people. But I am, off the back of this first episode, I am very optimistic for season 3. From what I've heard from trusted people, obviously without spoilers or anything like that, I'm very enthusiastic for how this is going to go. We yet to meet the rest of the Next Generation cast, which I'm really excited about, because in the trailer, when they saw Geordi looked pissed. And I want to see a pissed off Geordi.
What are your speculations? What's pissed Geordi off? Why he's so angry? Who made Geordi angry?
I don't. I mean, in the
I
trailer,
think maybe he hasn't had his eyes fixed and someone nicked his visor. It was all lies. He's just like,
I think he's sort of like, I think Geordi's sort of like, he's a Commodore now and he's holding up the Fleet Museum and he's just like, you're always seeking for adventure. Just let the young people be the gung ho renegades and let them have their time in the sun. Do you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
past it now, Picard.
But
Like it wasn't
then
all good things.
but then Picard's just like, fuck you, I'm an android now. I can punch through a wall,
Or is
seemingly.
he an android? We don't know because it's never mentioned.
Well, yeah, that's it.
But no, I mean,
I do love the idea. It's like, did Q fix that? Did Q tie up that little plot hole? I don't know.
we'll
I'm
never
hoping,
know.
but
But I am very much looking forward to next week's. I'm very much looking forward. I'm looking forward to Moriarty.
But this is the thing. It's like I'm a bit like, I know we got Riker, we got Riker, we got Crusher. In this episode, we got like Raffi and we got Seven and stuff. So it was great to get these things in, because I kind of worry that like I that I think they're going to be monsters of the week kind of things, because obviously in the trailer we see Law and we see I was going to say Marathi there, and I'm like, nope, I'm getting into Warhammer Fantasy. Totally different thing that should probably be adapted properly. But yeah, and Moriarty, but I think they're going to be Monster of the Weeks. I think they're going to be like, hey, we're here for one episode and that's us done, and we're not part of the wider plot. I'm sure it'll be
Yes.
something where they discover the computer and they're just like going, oh, what's in here? Oh, it's Moriarty, rather than them being part of the main plot. Because I kind of
Yeah.
think the main villain might be Sealer. I have a feeling they haven't been
Everyone
teased
says that.
anywhere, but I'm kind of
Yeah.
going, it would be perfect to go, hey, Law needs wrapped up, Moriarty needs wrapped up, you know who needs wrapped up? Sealer fucking needs wrapped up. And because they
Everyone has said
haven't
this.
teased them at all, I think maybe it's because it'll be a bigger part of it.
And Denise Crosby has been very vocal by saying, oh, I
She's just sitting
feel
there being
left
like, I
out.
made a mistake. It's been
Yeah.
30, 40
I,
years. Just let me
I
back.
feel left out of the ensemble. And I'm like, no, you're in there. We know you're in
She
there.
misses
Stop
the she
teasing
misses the
us.
Romulan bowl cut. That's what she misses.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
I want them.
These new Romulans, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it. These Scottish Romulans. That xenophobic? I don't know, but I know it.
She's Irish.
It's so simple. Is it Irish? Is
She's
it
Irish, yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, I'm definitely xenophobic. I mean,
But I know what you mean. Like they are,
where did that accent come from exactly? But I think that's the thing I missed though. Like it's obviously I'd like to think that the discussion was had in the costume department or in the sort of design department, that they like had Romulans and they were like, okay, we're gonna have Romulans this season, and then suddenly they break out the shoulder pads and they're just like, righto, time to make everyone look like an upside down triangle.
Or was it?
But
Hear me out. Or was it because Romulus blown up that they
yeah,
didn't have to conform to government mandated
yeah.
haircuts?
See, that's the thing.
And then they're like, haha.
And it is a strange one, because it's kind of like it's like if we get to see post DS9 Cardassia, like what that would be like in terms of
Oh God, yeah.
now that they've lost this ruling government kind of thing, like this militaristic government. Is the culture totally different? Do people act totally differently, kind of thing? So it's, yeah, I guess in that capacity it's great to go like, hey, yeah, Romulans, everything we knew about them was because of their oppressive regime, and now that they've lost that and, well, their planet, like this is what they are now. They've turned
Yeah.
Irish, which is, I didn't have that on the cards, but
If we're going back to DS9, I demand Kieran Reese. I demand it. We need Colonel Kira to kick some enemy ass.
Well, do you reckon though, we're going on a bit here, but do you reckon that with is she going to be a colonel or is she going to be a Vedic? Because I know that, obviously the whole thing was that they were going
on Star Trek
after
Online. She is a
DS9, they'll
Vedic.
probably be like, oh,
She was she in Star Trek Online. She is written as a Vedic. She is Kai Nerys.
Yeah.
So
she just skipped all of the middle bits there. She just
Kai
goes like
Kira.
Colonel
Yeah,
Kai. Right, there we go.
yeah. I do. I mean, I know
I think
it's
it'd be
probably
great.
a
It would be
lot more.
absolutely wonderful to see Nana visit her again.
She is a wonderful human being. She is very feisty. As a person in real life, and I think as an actress, she was amazing as Kieran Reese. But I hope there is more DS9 in this. I hope there's more Voyager in this. I hope we finally get the amalgamation of Voyager, DS9, and TNG into one gloop one
Yeah.
glorious gloop of a series.
I would, now this might sound a bit crude, but I would come in my pants if we had, I don't know, like a mention of the Dominion, if we had a Vorta, even if we just have Cisco popping out of nowhere and being like, "Hey, bitches, I'm back."
Just bring back Jeffrey Combs. just Jeffrey Combs.
No, what if Jeffrey Combs playing Sealer?
It would work because he's that
like,
good. You would think it's Denise Crosby. He is that good. You know, I have long proponed a Star Trek Coombs where it's just Jeffrey Combs in every single role on screen, and it will work because he is the perfect. Him and Michael Dorn, and Jeffrey Armstrong, who played the Admiral in Enterprise. I think they were the most reoccurring actors in the show. But well, I mean,
also, I've forgotten. I don't know the actress's name, but the woman who plays Data's mother, but also ends up playing.
Yes,
she plays someone. She plays someone in Voyager, because in Voyager she plays. I've forgotten who she is in Voyager, but she is in that, and then she's in DS9 as the.
If anyone knows, please leave it in the comments.
Yeah, leave it in the comments.
Please leave it in the comments because this is going to play on me unless I stop being lazy and go on IMDb.
But I totally forgot. Like that it's like, oh, she's been in all of them. To be fair, I'm gonna have to watch Enterprise again and be like, is she in this?
I think if this season, based on the first episode, if it's as good as the first episode or even better, I think this could be the new golden era of a continuation of the TNG Star Trek, which everyone loves. And I think the world at the moment needs more of. We need more of this.
I think I'm very optimistic, but I'm going to be the devil's advocate again, where I'm very optimistic, but to the point where I'm a bit sad that this is the last season. Like they've said, this is the final season, and you're like, oh, but it just got good. Could we just do a do-over? Could we have this as season one?
Or is it? Because Jonathan Frakes and Metalis have said this is the last season of Picard. Not necessarily the last season of TNG. And
they've been talking about a spin-off for Seven, haven't they? And it would be great to get
Captain Seven spin-off, which I think would work because Jerry Ryan again. Tremendous actor. There is a load of possibilities if you've got the right people behind it with the right the good writing. It right to black. You can write your own checks.
Yeah.
So overall, though, I absolutely love this episode. I love the direction that they appear to be going in. I love that. Finally, Star Trek Picard has got its shit together compared to the last.
It only took 20 episodes.
It only took 3 or 4 years to finally get there. But no, I very much enjoyed it. I am looking forward to next week. So I think, we have really gone over with this one, haven't we?
Yeah, sorry.
But it is the first episode, so we needed to get this off our chest, guys, before before we move on. But next week, episode 2. Thank you so much, Graeme, for joining me on this incredible journey.
For coming in and complaining.
Well, it wouldn't be a Star Trek fan. It wouldn't be a Star Trek fan without complaining. Trekkies love a good complaint. We are second only to Star Wars fans for mourning. So
it comes from a place of love. No, it's been fun. It's been fun doing this, and we'll do it again next week with the next episode. And I hope it'll be wonderful.
Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Click that bell for Nerdy Up North. We have a podcast every Sunday, live, 7:30 p.m. on the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel. We also have Twitch. We have the fantastic Facebook community, which hit 7,000 members as of the 17th of February. Come and join us. Come and join in on the fun. We do everything and anything. We are just nerd sluts. We will cover anything you want us to cover. We are very passionate.
A slut for nerds.
Slut for nerds. But yes, thank you very much, Graeme. Thank you very much for everyone watching. I'm going to say stay nerdy, everyone, because I've always wanted to say that. Sorry, Sammy.
Yeah.
And LL live long and prosper. LLAP. There we go. But see you guys. Bye.
Bye.